actually used SPSS. I'm not going to bore you with SPSS, but essentially, if you do an undergraduate degree in psychology in the UK and a master's, you kind of need to become quite savvy with this software. And believe me, it's so scary. I mean, initially when you first use this software for any psychology graduate, it's stats is quite tricky. But once you get the hang of it, it's incredibly easy to use. So going back to Nipm International. So as I said, it's a manufacturing company and produces a variety of technical equipment. And the total sales force is around 120 personnel. So the main driver for this work, from the perspective of Widget International, was to really win a greater share of the market, maintain their competitive advantage in Europe, and become more profitable so that in the future they can become a publicly listed company. The organization's core aims were to listen and respond to the customers, suppliers and stakeholders, clearly communicate mutual intentions and expectations, deliver innovative and competitive products and services, and make it easy for them to work with these products and be the vendor of choice through Europe. So the sales director approached me and we had a great conversation and he really wanted to develop a number of initiatives, but one in particular was really around the selection and assessment policies of its sales force, to really ensure they had the right resources, they had the right capability to deliver against these strategic objectives. So HR and business were very much on the same table with this one. Okay, so a couple of research questions. So you can probably see them on a lot of words on the screen. But so as I said, the sales director was really unsure of the best recruitment strategy. Recruitment currently is from both internal and external to the organization. Internal recruits are predominantly from a technical role, whereas recruits from outside have technical experience as well as sales experience. Furthermore, the organization is also unaware of specific variables other than sales measures, for example, sales figures, the number of units sold, and number of clients, which may also be able to use to predict future good sales performance. The sales director also feels that maybe personality may be a useful predictor of work performance. In this context, as well as the number of years sales experience, type of recruit, gender and age, and in addition, the influence of these variables, how do they impact overall job performance? Good, average, poor, what kind of impact do all these different variables have on overall sales performance? Okay, so to conduct the analysis, I used SPSS and used various different measures. So the first one was MANOVA. I know that sounds quite scary, but essentially it's just looking at what kind of impact do each of these variables have on the output. For example, age, existing sales experience, are they an external recruit? So it's just really playing with them and seeing what predicts a good sales performance. So it's just playing with that data in a statistical package. And this is, again, as I said, you can use a system like SPSS to aid this more left-brain thinking. Okay, so let's get to the results. So what does this all mean? The first result was really interesting. External recruits outperformed internal recruits with statistically significant higher number of sales figures in the number of units sold. However, a 6-month follow-up study was recommended. Okay, so that's quite interesting because we kind of, I think most of us have the philosophy of promoting internal sales recruits, but in this particular case, external recruits with sales experience were much more predictive of good performance, which is quite interesting for this company. But the second result was now looking at personality. So I used a personality instrument called the Einstein instrument. So that looks at the basic 5-factor model of personality. But I'll break that down. I know that sounds like heavy. But essentially, the sales team, the personality of the sales team was reduced to 3 factors, and emotional stability was the most prevalent factor. The personality profile of the sales team was self-confident, happy, calm, autonomous, healthy, guilt-free, casual rule followers. And the majority of the sales population appeared to be active, social, a mixture of expressive and inhibited personality traits, assertive, ambitious, careful, controlled, responsive, and empathetic. So that's a little bit about, what was this profile looking at? So the third result, a key predictor of good performance was actually a greater number of sales experience. So sales experience was found to make the largest unique contribution to higher sales performance. And in terms of selection policies, Widget International was encouraged to specify a certain number of sales years experience as a prerequisite for a salesperson. So approximately 5 years. So again, tapping into this data, it's led to intelligence. I mean, that's, the recruitment team is now armed with some really great information. So what we've got, external recruits are a little bit better in terms of a good sales performer, as well as somebody that has at least 5 years experience. As well as, this is the kind of personality profile we're looking at. So again, really useful, and it's really added value to the business. Finally, in regards to the personality characteristics, I guess it's a perception, I think, that salespeople have to be quite extroverted, which is somebody that is very sociable, they get their energy from the outside, they're kind of quite chatty. But actually in this case, I found 2 different groups. A smaller group of good performers was also quite introverted, quite cautious, and maybe even less emotionally stable, which is, fantastic. So Widget International were advised to use Eisen's personality profile alongside other selection methods in order to select on the basis of these 2 different groups in the future. Okay, so that's a little bit about the case study, which I've just tried to demonstrate how useful using SPSS and how really data and all these numbers, we can transform it into something that's really, really meaningful, and it can answer the questions of our leaders. So something you can all learn to do. So in summary, business in all industries require real-time intelligence, more than ever, to enable strategy creation, being on the table with other business leaders. That's the goal, isn't it? Not just a support function.